All right, y'all. So welcome back to another episode of Twisted 20s. I know I say this every episode. This episode is truly, truly, truly very important, and I pray that it's very impactful to your life. So I'm gonna keep this intro short and sweet because there's a lot that I have to impact with this episode. But I just want to say thank you for each and every person that has listened to Twisted 20s on YouTube, on audio. You are truly a blessing. You guys are doing numbers on Twisted 20s, and I'm just so grateful and I'm so thankful. So with that being said, y'all, we are gonna go ahead and get into today's podcast episode. All right, y'all. So welcome back to another episode of Twisted 20s. Like I said in the intro, you guys, I just appreciate the numbers that you guys are putting up for Twisted 20s. Okay, #1 podcast on Apple. Here we come. Okay, period. But anyway, so let's just dive into this podcast episode because I feel like this podcast episode is truly, truly, truly important. I know I say that every episode, but this series is just so important. And I wanted to do this particular episode, a part of this podcast, because our childhood has a lot to do with our purpose. How we fulfill our purpose, how long it takes us to fulfill our purpose, how long it takes us to walk into our purpose, how long it takes us to truly, truly, truly become the person that we are called to be. And so this is what I've been learning. Like this is something I've been really learning. God has been revealing this to me. My pastor has been revealing this to me. And childhood started. And I want you to understand that a lot of the issues that we have as adults started in childhood. And I say this because the enemy purposefully causes pain and trauma here. And the reason why that is because the enemy is slick, okay? He's slick. He never wants us to grow up. He never wants us to see past our hurt and pain. Because if we end up doing that, then we use our hurt and pain to walk into our purpose. And I'll talk about that a little bit on into the podcast. So please stay tuned for the whole entire thing. But the reason why he does this is because oftentimes when we're children, the things that happen to us in childhood, they truly create the identity and the personalities that we have now. Even at 24 years old, I'm still trying to shed some of those personalities that I adapted in childhood. It's really hard. It's not easy. You're learning and relearning. But a lot of the things that happen to us in childhood is what causes us to be who we are in this exact moment. But the trauma and pain is that the personality that we've adapted due to that trauma and pain is not who we're supposed to be, which is why he purposefully causes trauma and pain. So if you really and truly feel like you're not called, I want you to think back on your childhood. Did you have any trials and tribulations? I know for me in my childhood, I grew up in a single household, single mother. My father wasn't there. I grew up with daddy issues, feeling unwanted, feeling unworthy, always looking for acceptance from a man, and not just outside of that. I did a lot of things. If you listen to other podcast episodes, you know that I went through a phase of rebellion, stealing, running away from home, lying. There was a lot of things that happened to me in my childhood. I got, touched inappropriately at a young age, which, opened up a whole portal, a whole path to just seductive behavior, all types of things. So it's if you really think about the things that's happened to you in your childhood, and if you've had some type of trauma, some type of pain, even if it's something that you may not remember, I guarantee you, after listening to this podcast, something that you tucked away a long time ago, you're going to remember. And I say that because my cousin called me and we were having a conversation. We talked about childhood trauma and things like that. And, he was like, I just always wonder, why at such a young age, were we so, sexually active? And when he asked me that question, that's when it dawned on me. And I was like, know. But when he asked me that, that's when doors started, doors started opening of memories that I had tucked away, that I had wanted to forget because of the pain and trauma that it had caused. So not even realizing that those particular doors that had opened, that I had mentally closed, but emotionally I never closed them, which is why I was having the issues that I was having with men and, being promiscuous and things like that. And so the enemy will purposefully cause pain and trauma here in your childhood. And so I just ask you, what in your childhood caused you to be who you are today? How has your childhood affected who you are today, your personality that you have today, the trauma that you have today, the attitude that you have today, the traits that you have today, the way that you respond to people, the way that you, desire a relationship, the way you desire men, whatever it may be. I just truly ask you to start asking yourself those hard questions, because that question that my cousin asked me was a hard question. And if it wasn't for him, I don't know if I really even would have thought about that. And so I'm just grateful and thankful that he actually asked me that question so that I was able to truly understand where all of that started. And so the good thing about it, though, is like it doesn't end there. Like, even though, at 24 years old, I'm just now allowing God to heal me and restore me. So it doesn't end there. Like, even though you have all that pain, even though you have all that trauma, it doesn't end there. God can and he will restore you. And so he's allowed me to be restored in so many ways, y'all. Like, I have a video coming on my YouTube channel in the next couple days, or really whenever God tells me to release it. But you guys will know what has been going on. He has really been restoring me, restoring my faith in him. Y'all gonna know, because when I put the video out, I will probably also make sure I do a podcast, like a little intervene podcast, outside of my Monday and Friday posting. So I probably do maybe like a Wednesday or something like that. Just kind of telling you guys what's really going on. But it's just been so much that God has been doing for me. And I know I talked about this on the last podcast episode, that God will put you in a wilderness. God will put you somewhere where you can only hear him, and he will separate you from everything that you know. And I've been going through that phase of being restored. And it's by far the best feeling that I've ever had. Like, I've been having so many revelations about things that not just happened, with pain and trauma with my mom's passing, but childhood as well. And so this is why I tell you that it does not end here. God can and he will restore you if you allow him to. Like, he's not going to just do it out of the blue. Like, you have to be willing, you have to surrender everything, and you have to surrender to him in order for him to restore you. So like I was saying earlier about purpose, pain and trauma being attached to your purpose. This is very much so true. This podcast episode is going to be short, y'all. I know, my podcast episodes, I like to get straight to the point. I like to get to the nitty gritty so y'all understand what's going on. So purpose is going to be attached to pain and trauma. And oftentimes we find our purpose after going through pain and trauma. This is so important, because after my mom passed, I found myself really questioning, who God was, questioning myself, questioning, how am I going to get through life? I found myself really questioning and asking these questions. But the only thing that really helped me to get through was purpose. Unfortunately, I found my purpose through the pain and trauma that I experienced, not just through childhood, but the passing of my mom. Like, that was something that was really traumatic for me, because I was there when the situation happened. And, I'm not going to go in detail about it on this episode. You guys can go back to season 1, season 2 and listen and, know exactly what's going on. But that particular incident was so traumatic for me. But I want you to understand that when you go through trauma and pain, God is never far away. Like, Every single time I've been laying in this bed crying, full of depression, he has always been right there. He's just waiting on us to call on him, to lean on him instead of leaning on our own fleshly desires. I was leaning on weed so much, y'all. Like, I was suppressing with marijuana with so much, not even realizing that addiction started way before, I even came into play. I've been writing out so much about my family, and I'm understanding that addiction really runs in my family. So that's something that, has been a generational thing. It's a generational curse. I have an episode about generational curses. I'll probably do something else diving into a little more about, things that happen to us, that we're dealing with, that we think, oh, I'm the only one dealing with, but really and truly is really a generational curse. So I'm actually ready to get into that. But pain is going to be attached to your purpose. Like, there's no way that you can't go through pain and trauma without reaching your purpose. Even the rebirth of yourself is going to be pain and traumatic. Like, it just is. Like, if I could explain to you guys, or express to you guys how much trauma and pain that I felt over these past, 9 months? I've been in therapy for 9 months now, and I've been going through emotional turmoil. Like, I've been going through emotional turmoil since I moved here. But it's been a year of emotional turmoil, and God has put me in a wilderness so that I'm able to understand certain things. And that's why I want you guys to understand that when you are going through certain things, do not give up, because you are simply just going through something, because you never know what you're going through. You never know if what you're going through is for somebody else. And that's another, and I've said that before on my podcast, like, your purpose is always tied to someone else's purpose. What you are going through is always going to be for someone else. Like, what I experienced in my childhood is for my little cousin who's going through the same exact thing, just on a different level. So it's like, you guys have to understand that even though you're going through certain pain, certain traumas, it's not just for you. Like, you could be the breakthrough that someone else is waiting for. You could be the person that helps someone else break their chains of addiction, of, if you've been molested, anything like that. Like, you could be that person, but you will never be that person if you don't allow God to restore you and heal your heart from all the pain and trauma that you've experienced. So if you don't allow that to happen, then you never can truly walk into your purpose. The thing about pain and trauma that I've learned is you have to truly embrace it, because it's always going to be a part of who you are, but it doesn't have to change who you are called to be. It's going to mold you into who you are called to be. It's supposed to be a piece of who you are called to be, but it's not supposed to be the whole puzzle. And the reason why I say that is because our pain and trauma is always going to be used as a testimony. It's always going to be used as a testimony. The things that I'm going through, the things that I've been through, is why I started this podcast. Because it's like, I want other people out there to understand that you are not alone. You're not going through depression and suicidal thoughts and feeling helpless by yourself. I'm going through the same things. So what I'm going through is always a testimony for someone else. But if I had never embraced how I was feeling, how could I have started a podcast? How could I have been able to reach other people and to help them to understand that this is simply just a part of your purpose? This is simply just a part of your destiny. God knows every step. You think God didn't know you was going to be laying on that bed crying in tears? He knew that. Every step is ordained and created by him. Even when we step outside of his will, like that's what I've learned. It's like, even when we step outside of his will, it's still ordained, which is why God still continues to call us, even when we're still of the world. And I'm just speaking from experience. So how you decide to say, I'm breaking this chain, is saying that it ends with you. This is not something I'm passing to my children, my children's children, however long this generation lasts. It ends with me. It's over. So you have to take it, you have to be that person. A lot of y'all are generational breakers. A lot of y'all, okay? I consider myself to be one. I know that I am because I've always been what I would consider the black sheep of my family. I've always seen things differently. I've always been able to understand things differently, which is why I'm so heavy on my little cousin, because I feel like she is also a generational breaker. She's just going through a rough moment. And sometimes we go through rough times in our lives. But we need someone by our sides that understands that, which is why I'm being consistent with my podcast, because I don't want you guys to give up in the middle of your wilderness. I don't want you to give up in the middle of your storm, because at the end of a storm, at the end of a wilderness, it's always something better on the other side. And it's just simple as that. It's always something better on the other side, y'all. Like, I've been having dreams. I've been having visions. God is getting ready to do something in my life that I have been praying and asking for. Y'all, there has been so much going on in my life, and I'm going to do a video about this. I'm going to do a podcast about this, I promise. But all of this is going to be tied to everything that I'm doing on this series. Your purpose is always going to be attached to pain and trauma. But that doesn't mean that your pain and trauma has to be your identity. It's always going to be a part of your purpose, but it doesn't have to be your identity. The Lord is using me today. I'm just so blessed that He's speaking through me. The Lord is really using me today. And I'm just so blessed that He's speaking through me to you guys. And I just pray that you guys are able to truly understand everything that I said in this podcast. And I just want to encourage you that do not give up in the middle of the storm. The one thing that I can say about myself is that even when I do give up, I never fully give up. I always get back up again. I never fully give up. I never just quit and just say, that's it, I'm never doing this again. I may quit for a couple days. I may quit for a week. I may quit for a month. But I never not get back up again. So sometimes we do have to quit. And that's okay. But never quit to the point where you never get back up again. That's the truth. That's the one thing I've been learning on this journey. Is sometimes we just get tired. Sometimes we get weary. But keep your faith, seek God first, and you will always have the strength to get through anything. And I'm speaking from experience, because if y'all knew what I was going through right now, the things that I'm doing in this current moment, y'all would be like, girl, how you do that? So I'm truly just blessed to be able to be doing this podcast. And you guys make sure you tune in on Monday for another episode of Twisted 20s. Monday's episode is going to be good as well. And make sure y'all tune in when I drop my video about the things that's going on my YouTube channel. You can find me on YouTube at I am T Louise on YouTube, as well as Instagram, I am.T.Louise. Follow the Twisted 20s podcast on YouTube as well. And excuse me. You guys send me any reviews. I would love to know if this podcast is transforming your lives, how this podcast is impacting your lives. I would love to know. So send me emails. I'm going to be getting a private email soon for Twisted 20s. So just let me know. Leave some reviews. DM me on Instagram. Let me know, because I truly want to understand if this podcast is transforming your life, if it's helping you with anything that you've been going through. And I pray that it's impacting you. I love each and every single one of you guys. You guys are truly, 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 truly a blessing. And I love you. Peace, love, and blessings. T. Louise.